Hello, and thank you for listening to Operation Agency Freedom, where we are bringing you top secret advice from the world's most badass digital agency owners and influencers. These amazing men and women are sharing their stories of how they have built 6, 7, and 8-figure digital agencies and how you can too. My name is Chris Martinez, CEO of Dude, where we help digital agencies by giving them the people and the processes so that they can take on more projects and scale profitably. And today I am joined by my brother from another mother, all the way coming from the East Coast, Mr. Tim Kilroy. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you, Chris. By the way, that sounded very like Ron Popeil-ish at the beginning. like now how much would you pay for this podcast?
But wait, there's more.
It slices, dices, and julienne's fries. I mean, that's totally it.
And today, for the next 5 minutes, if you buy one, you'll get a second one free.
Oh, is Russell Brunson on this phone call?
Man, I wish I'd tell him something. Well, hey, man, it's been a couple weeks since we've chatted, and I was on your podcast recently, so thank you for having me on your show. It's time to repay the favor.
Exactly.
And honestly, I didn't know much about you before I went on your podcast. Then after learning about your story and all the things that you've accomplished and all the things that you're helping other agency owners accomplish, I just knew that I had to have you on our show. So thanks so much for being here.
I'm thrilled to be here. It's great. It's
awesome. And, we start off every show with our roundtable discussion. And it's a very timely topic because I guess, you're a huge Red Sox fan.
It's true.
I guess the Red Sox just made a huge trade over to my hometown team, which is the Dodgers.
Yeah.
So tell us all about the Red Sox.
It's kind of a dark day here, a dark week here in Boston. Normally this week, like the truck leaves from Fenway Park to take everybody to spring training, and there's the season is full of excitement and opportunity. And this year it feels like, it feels like that trumpet noise, like wah wah wah, because the Red Sox just traded away the second best player in baseball, and they got back, like the equivalent of a box of new baseballs.
There has to be some reason behind it. I mean, is it just financial? Okay, so first of all, tell us who got traded so that we can.
So Mookie Betts and David Price got traded to the Dodgers, and the Dodgers sent back their young outfielder and a pitcher from the Mets. It's actually from the Twins. So it's like a super complicated trade, but basically like two big superstars went to the Dodgers and lesser beings came back, and it very much seems to be like it very much seems to be a financial thing, which, if you're a Red Sox fan, you already have the most expensive tickets in baseball, and it's very disappointing.
I'm sorry, I'm laughing. There's just so much emotion there. I had to call it out. So, I'm a huge fan of I'm not really a baseball fan, but I'm a huge fan of the movie Moneyball.
Sure.
And, at the end, and I don't know if this is true, but in the movie, they get the statistics guy from the Oakland A's, and the Red Sox hire him. I think it was. They were trying to get Billy Beane, but Billy Beane didn't go.
Yeah, so, right. And actually, they couldn't work out a deal for Billy Beane. But that's it was. I mean, I didn't see the movie. I read the book. The book is
okay.
Awesome. The book is but it turned out pretty well for the Red Sox after that, anyways.
So what I had heard, going back to I heard, so there was this statistics guy who basically helped Billy Beane to formulate this.
Yeah.
We need to buy hits. We need to buy what's the on base batting percentage?
Bill James.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So did the Red Sox actually get him? Because
So he actually has worked for the Red Sox until he just retired this year.
Okay.
And he's in his mid 70s or something.
Oh shit. So I mean, you got to think that the Red Sox knew something. They're not a stupid organization unless they were just doing it for the money so that they can reinvest in something later, or I don't know.
Yeah, it's all about the salary cap and luxury penalties and all.
Okay. So let's go back in time. Where did your Red Sox, kind of where did your fanaticism with the Red Sox come from?
So well, I grew up in Boston, so it is the law. I mean, um, uh, and when I was a kid, I played baseball, and I played baseball in high school and in college, and baseball, like I wanted to be Carlton Fisk or Kari Yastrzemski. Those were the people they were my heroes. They were the people that they were the people that meant the world to me. And so I wanted to be them. So
it's funny, like I kind of knew what the answer was going to be, but it's like, sports, especially when you're a fan of a specific team, there's usually always some connection to being a kid. Like some of your happiest memories are, going to the park, throwing the ball around with your friends, or for me, I played soccer. So playing soccer, or like, going to the game, and like, you remember those specific moments. Like for soccer, for me, Major League Soccer started in 1996, I believe it was. And I remember going to my very first LA Galaxy game, and just the lights and the sounds, and like the stadium was like, they did it in the Rose Bowl, and the stadium was like almost full, way more capacity than they were anticipating. Like I remember all that stuff, and that sticks with you, and that's why you're always a fan, or that's why I'm always been a fan.
I mean, because it's all about connection and belonging to something bigger than yourself. And there's excitement, and there's heroes, and there's villains, and it's a very sort of like, it's a whole Greek tragedy thing happening right in front of you.
I love it. And now you get to share those experiences with your son too, right?
My son is 17. I have a parcel of children. I have 5 kids, but my oldest is 17, and really he was throwing a baseball before he could crawl, honest to goodness. And baseball is everything to him. It's what he thinks about, what he like eats, drinks, sleeps, breathes it, and his girlfriend is actually quite clear that she is second to baseball.
Wow.
Yeah.
We should have her on the show and have her talk about that. Well, awesome, man. So let's switch gears. Let's talk about your business now. And I want to hear about your journey to get to where you're at, because it wasn't always smooth sailing. So why don't we start about how you got into the agency world and your experiences there?
Yeah. Well, right now I'm an agency coach, and I work with agencies, and I help them. Generally the goal is to double their revenue as quickly as possible. But I didn't actually, I never set out to be in an agency. I mean, that was not what I was after. But in the late 90s, I was part of the .com boom. Was working for a company called Inktomy. On paper, I was worth bazillions of dollars, and apparently the paper wasn't worth anything. But that's and then the crash happened, and I had been working with all these e-commerce folks, and we just had our first kid, and my wife said, "Can you get a job where you don't travel so much?" And I thought, well, it was and nobody was hiring. So I thought, holy crap, I got to go make my own job. And so I didn't know what else to do. So I was kind of doing the stuff that I knew how to do. And so I started pushing out digital services to local businesses, and they weren't ready for that. And ran that and scaled it up. And it was great. I mean, we did everything in terms of marketing. If it involved marketing, we did it. And, and I was adding staff, and we're growing, and revenues, and blah, blah. And then all of a sudden, we were out of cash because I was too freaking busy to send out invoices.
Right? I know that feeling, actually. Don't feel bad.
Right. And we're having another kid, and there's mortgage pressure, and I've got employees, and under all this pressure. And I would love to tell you that I reached deep inside and found this magical elixir of strength and organization, but I didn't. I broke. I couldn't do anymore. I tried to get partners to help me out, and I couldn't get out of my own way. I was the spoke, or the hub in the middle of all these spokes, and nothing could get done without me. And it was like kind of validating, right? Because everything, I had to touch everything, and it was all my stuff. But my clients weren't happy, my employees weren't happy, I wasn't happy, my wife wasn't happy, my dog wasn't happy. Like nobody was happy. It was awful. And so that agency imploded. Like it collapsed in on itself.
What kind of time frame are we talking about? Like,
so it took me like a year to like commit to the fact that I was doing this and wasn't really still looking for a job.
mm-hmm.
But then it was 3 years of like fast scale, and then it collapsed. It collapsed so quickly because like I didn't have anything left to give to it.
Yeah.
Like I was done. I was and so like there was a financial hole in my basement, like so big that they had to have spelunkers come in to find the bottom of it, because it was like I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I couldn't manage anything. And so then like I'm stuck with this like big giant financial hole. I was a wreck. My wife was a wreck. And so I had like go out and get a job. Like I got a job and hated all the jobs. And then all of a sudden, a friend of mine, someone I met during after a couple of years, a friend of mine that I had met during my own agency spree, he came to me and said, like I'm going to sell my company. Let's go do something, right? Let's go do something. Like, let's go. Like he's free. He's ready to rock. He's got money. And so we're on it. And so we are going to go out there and we're going to create a Woot killer. So Woot, selling, sort of leftovers from distributors. So, crazy stuff. And he is like, and he knows how to buy products. So we were going to source all this kind of stuff. It's going to be awesome. And so we're like elbows deep in developing our own custom website and blah, blah. And he's out like getting ready to go to China to buy stuff. And so we're all set. Right. Like we're like, and we've got developers and we're going. And then he was like, we got to stop. It's like, why? Like, it's like, we're ready. Let's go. And he had a personal issue and suddenly there wasn't money available. But we had all this stuff going on, and you know what? I wasn't gonna screw up a second business. Like I wasn't gonna jump back into that deep dark hole. So instead of like packing up shop, we probably should have like just packed up shop and gone home. But so we thought like, what do we know how to do? Like, what can we do right now to make some money? And so then we ended up with an SEO deal. So because I worked for search engine, I knew about SEO. And then we got another SEO deal, and then we got a third one and a fifth one and a seventh one. And we started to build a team. And so all of a sudden, like we're thinking like, oh, why were we doing that other stupid thing? Because this is what we know how to do. We can crank this out. We're really freaking good at it. And within 20 months, we get acquired by a large performance agency, PM Digital, which is now PMX Forward. And so then, and then we're doing the same stuff at the agency. We start their search engine optimization practice. We started social media practice. And then after it was time to go, after I'd sort of worn out my welcome there, I jumped into the client side for a while. I worked for Wayfair, and then I worked as a CMO of a fashion retailer. Mm-hmm. But you know what? As it turns out, I'm broken. I'm not a good employee. I'm really.
No, you're perfect the way you are, and you're in good company too. Because
I'm a good chief, but a bad Indian. That's like not so. So then I exited out of being a CMO, and then decided like, holy moly, like I got to start something, because there were problems that I saw when I was a CMO. Like there's information that I needed that I couldn't get to, and I couldn't get my vendors to give it. So I wanted to create a solution to do that. So we started this agency that was very focused on profitability and intelligent bidding, and so ran with that for a couple of years, and we scaled up a lot. and then that transitioned into a large agency. And so, I've got this experience where I've like really kind of figured some stuff out by making all the mistakes you could possibly make. Like there's not a mistake left that I have not made. And I've made most of them at least twice because I'm not not a quick learner. So then after I left the last agency, I couldn't start a new agency because of non-compete stuff. But I was trying to figure out like what could I do, and so I started consulting with retailers because I knew a lot about e-commerce, and that was pretty good. But I found that as soon as I turned my head, my retailer partners like went back to doing the stuff the same way that they'd always done it because it was a big machine that was already moving. Mm-hmm. And then I started working with startups, and even when I was brought in by one of their funding partners, it was really difficult for a young funded startup guy to look at the guy with gray in his beard who's got kids and all that kind of stuff. And like, it was really hard for them to think that my sort of time-tested pearls of wisdom were in fact that. And so there was like a real resistance there. And so it wasn't super fun. But then a friend of mine who she's had an agency for 15 years. I just talked to her this morning, actually. Her agency was stuck for a really long time. They were stuck at the same revenue and couldn't get out of her own way. And we started talking about ways she could change her agency. And when we were having this conversation, it's like the sun came out and birds started singing and, music was playing. And I thought like, holy crap, like this is where I'm supposed to be sitting right now. This like all of my experience led up to this single conversation where I could diagnose how somebody could change themselves and their organization to grow faster. And I think it takes a long time to figure out where you should be standing. And this is where I should be standing. This is like the culmination of all my experiences, both good and bad, is where I can help agency owners like really change how they think about themselves and how they relate to their work and how they relate to their employees and their structure and their clients so that things just happen faster. Because I've been dumb enough to make all the mistakes. Now I can help you not make them because I can, if you're racing down a road, I can say, holy moly, we're not heading in a good direction because guess what? I've already got the AAA triptych map and I've already been to the end of this and it's not good.
Yeah. What do you think most agencies come to you? Like, what are some of the, I guess, top 3 issues that agencies are dealing with and that are preventing them from getting to the next level?
Yeah. So there's 3. Well, I'll tell you what the agencies say, and then I'll tell you what their problems really are. So number 1 is leads. I need more leads, right? That's number 1. Number 2 is I can't charge enough. Like I can't get the right fee structure, and I don't want to work with clients who micromanage me. Like those are the big 3. Those actually aren't the real problems, right? The real problems when they say that that I need more leads, it actually means that they have a really inefficient sales process, right? And they don't know what they don't know what their unique value is. And they don't know how to create a relationship and a discussion that gets them to a yes or no fast enough. So most of the time when they say I need more leads, what they're really saying is my sales process is broken, because rarely is it leads. I mean, sometimes it is, but most of the time it's my sales process is broken. The second thing is like I can't charge enough. Everybody's too cheap, whatever. And that's because they have not established their value. And they've not sort of owned the fact that they're expert, and they are being reactive to their clients or in their prospects. So they don't feel comfortable charging what they're worth, and so they typically undercut themselves because it's better to get a deal than to not get a deal. They feel So they price it too low and they don't make enough money. And then they're running this very lean machine, that doesn't work super well because they don't have enough resources. And so what they really need to do is they need to actually figure out, first of all, who's the right client, because the right client will never say that's too expensive, right? And they also need to know where their efforts are most are felt the most, because what regularly happens when the agencies say like I can't charge enough, it's because they're working with the wrong client and they're not able to express their value, what they bring to the table. And you fix that in a bunch of different ways, but you wouldn't believe how often that issue comes up because of the founder's relationship to money. Yeah, it is. It's all like weird personal head trash that gets expressed through your PowerPoint deck.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. I know that, the shortcomings that we experience in the business here at Dude are directly related to my abilities as a leader. So
right, which is like really challenging. Like it's right because you think like, well, no, this is a business problem. I like this. Like, tell me what to type here. What do I say at this point? And rarely is that sometimes people are just saying stupid things, but most of the time they're feeling the wrong thing. Right? They're bringing a lack of confidence, or their imposter syndrome is pops up, and they're owning how brilliant they are. But if you can instill that confidence in yourself, and it spills over to your entire company really fast. And if you can be comfortable saying that's $8,000 a month, and not feel like is someone behind you
waiting for the punch to come after you say that? It's $8,000 a month.
Or like there's someone behind you, like you're holding up a big X, like right? And I think that's really that is a huge thing for most agencies when they get their pricing right and they're able to pick the right customers. Like everything gets a whole lot easier because you're kind of like you're in your natural environment, right? The place where you belong. And I think a lot of companies spend a lot of time chasing dollars, and they end up just working with clients that they're not right to work with. And that's a big challenge. I think actually like the biggest skill any CEO can develop is the ability to pick good clients.
That's a writer downer right there.
Yeah.
Now, here's a scenario that I see happening pretty often, like how kind of like you fell into the agency world. I would say that like 90% of agencies, like they kind of fell into it. Like they started going down this path, and then before they knew it, they turned their head and they've got, 10 employees and all these clients, and they just been kind of growing at the seat of their pants without really any strategy or guidance even. So, what I see is that agencies start off thinking that this is their, ABC person is their ideal client. Yeah. And then it shifts over time. And what happens is that the clients and the agency shifts faster than the agency owner recognizes it.
Yeah.
And so they're still trying to pitch or present a package or a solution or whatever to the client that was 3 evolutions prior. Yeah. How would you address that? Like, how do you get people to agencies to see what's really going on? Because I think that a lot of times we have blinders on, and that's one of the reasons why we're not charging enough.
Yeah. So a lot of that that comes down to sort of like visibility, right? Mm-hmm. If you're only sort of like nasal gazing, you're only looking. If you're only looking in your organization for answers, you're going to get a very limited point of view. So that can absolutely dramatically influence your sense of value. Mm-hmm. The best way to sort of bust out of that is to get the founder to pick their head up and walk around for a while. Like look at other things, ask clients that have left, what they're doing now. Mm-hmm. Just broaden it, hire a coach, whatever, somebody's got a broader perspective, because At this point, I still have clients who are sort of fighting with their clients about their blended billable hour rate, right? Which is just like, I don't know, but like that was like, I stopped talking about like billable hours in 2004.
Right.
Right. God, we're not lawyers, for God's sakes. Right.
So one of the fastest ways to commoditize yourself.
Right. So really sort of having, the way the founder has got to be like really synthetic, right? They've got to be able to be out there and listen to other stuff that's happening and bring it home. Right. But I think that like the expert founder that you talked about, like you stumbled into an agency because you're good at something, right? Well, you end up, that is a huge limiter for so many agencies because you can only sell from the expert point of view. And so that agency can only scale to be as big as you are smart.
Right.
Right. And that puts you into an issue. If you're selling your expertise, that means that every client wants to work with you and they don't want to work with your account team. And that's a huge limiter for folks. And that's why, much of what I do is I help founders take whatever magic they have and institutionalize it, sort of turn their unique point of view into a process that can actually scale. That sort of ability to get bigger than you are smart is a huge, that's a huge like gating factor. Like if you can't get over your own smartness, your agency is going to be stuck, at your level, and that's inevitably smaller than you want it to be.
Just out of curiosity, kind of what's the scale that most of your clients want to get to? Like, are they doing $500,000? They want to get to $1 million? Are they doing like $1 million? They want to get to $2 million?
So it's a pretty big range. So I've got sort of two groups of clients. So there's clients that I work with in a group setting, and they're usually in the sort of $20,000 to $50,000 a month range, and they want to be double, triple, quadruple where they are. And then there's the clients that I work with one-on-one. They tend to be $1 million to $2 million, and they're all targeting $5 million, because at $5 million, you've got an asset that is interesting enough to generate some potential exit benefit for you.
Yeah. I think that's probably a lot of agency owners. Maybe it's 50-50, I don't know, but like, they're either looking for the exit or they're looking for the lifestyle. So
yeah, and actually, the best constructed companies do both, right? They provide for optionality, because you can have as an agency owner and a $5 million business, you can have an extraordinarily nice life, and you can be very, very comfortable, all the time. And I think, unfortunately for a lot of agency owners, they start an agency thinking that they're going to be able to sell it.
Yep.
Like there's going to be some sort of huge multiple, and there's going to be WPP is going to come knocking on their door and like drop a giant wad of money on the desk and say like, come on. But that rarely happens. You've got to have something special. And you've got to have something special, frankly, in order to be acquired at any kind of multiple. Most agency deals these days are, a modicum of cash up front plus earn-out. And that's when I talk to agency owners, because when they see my bio, they're like, oh, this is the guy who knows how to sell agencies, so I'm going to go work with him. And then they're like, I'm not going to get $10 million for my $1 million business.
Right.
But look at the cash flow, right? And I think that's, I think in some respects, when owners get over that sort of disappointment, like that, like this is not this isn't a lottery ticket that they just founded. You know, then they realize like, oh, this is an organization that can keep on going and growing, you know, even if I'm not part of it.
Mm-hmm.
And it can still throw cash off to me if I need that to happen. And when that really happens, and they focus on creating a self-sustaining organization that doesn't rely on their magic, then, you know, then they're in this position of real power, because then they have options. They can go try something. They can go try something new and keep their head in, or they could, you know, they could then become really aggressive and start looking for funding partners to maybe acquire other agencies. You know,
Right.
then like, but you've got to get to that point where your organization is way bigger than you are, and it doesn't rely on any skill that you have to keep on going. That you could put any average skill CEO in place to, you know, and keep the thing running. If you can get to that point, then you've got an organization that actually can become worth something.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. I mean,
I was thinking about that the other day I was driving, and I'm like, man, like what's a term that you could use for that, where it's like, you know, because to me, and I didn't create this, but like, you know, they say, what's the one thing you'll never find at a McDonald's? The owner. It's like, how do you mechify your agency so that you don't have to be as involved in it?
Yeah.
That would be amazing.
Yeah. So, I mean, so there's a lot of folks who just sort of, you know, they take a product approach to it,
Mm-hmm.
right? Which, you know, so they productize all their services, and that's fine. But that's not my favorite way to do it. So I think if you think about your agency, sort of like, actually, well, I'm gonna describe it in a way. I've just torn through a couple Jocko Willink books, Extreme Leadership, and
Oh, I love that. Yeah, I love Jocko's books.
And like he put it this great way, like the decentralized leadership or decentralized command is what you need. And so like the best agencies really have this, because if you've productized everything, you're sort of taking the thinking out of it, right? And so then you end up with people who have a very limited view of what's possible. But if you decentralize your leadership and give your team the autonomy to make the right choices and the context in which to make the right choices, then all that has to be set out is your core beliefs and your mission as an organization. And if you have given everybody the what they need to do, why they need to do it, and they have created the same belief in your mission and organization, then you can actually have decentralized leadership, which means you, limited human being that is sitting in the CEO spot, can get the fuck out of the way, right? And if you get to that point, then you've built an organization that is self-sustaining. And that's really what you should be looking for, rather than limiting people's choices. You should be maximizing their choices, maximizing their autonomy.
I love that approach.
Yeah, and it's really and you create. I mean, it's a much more interesting company then too,
and more fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well, we are way over time, but I didn't want to stop you because you were giving out some really, really good stuff. Tim, thanks so much for joining us on the show. What's the best way for people to get in contact with you?
You can check out my one of my programs, agencybreakout.com or timkilroy.com.
Nice. And who would be the perfect person to reach out to you today?
An agency owner that is somewhere between $20,000 a month in revenue and $2.5 million a year in revenue, who's stuck somewhere. Like things are not going how you want them to go, but you can feel like it's right around the corner.
Yeah. Definitely something that I can relate to. I've been there myself.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on the show today, Tim.
It's my pleasure entirely.
Awesome. And to all of our listeners, make sure that you tune in next Thursday and every Thursday for the next episode of Operation Agency Freedom. Bye, guys.